That community piece is so important. And if that's not your guiding light in doing an event, then you will fail fast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Flywheel Effect. We're sponsored by Vital. Now, Vital helps custom integrators build businesses they actually enjoy to get back your time, get your peace of mind, and your freedom. If you're behind, you're always needed, or always stressed, it's time for a better way. Call Vital, and they will help you figure out what that way is. Join for their programs, whether it's Elevate, Elite Sales Academy, or even getting your finances in order. So we have a guest today, Jenn Heinold. Now, Jenn is the SVP of North America for AVIXA, of the trade organization that runs InfoComm in the US and ISE in Europe, where they work with integration businesses and technology businesses on supporting them in their journey. Now, we have Jenn on here because AVIXA had a fairly recent acquisition of Lightapalooza and announced a really great program that they're going to do in conjunction with Lightapalooza at the new InfoComm in the US. Now, Jenn, why don't you let us know what that is?
Thanks for having me, Brent, and good to see you, Matt. We are hosting Reside, which is a new residential-focused trade show alongside Info in 2027 and alongside Lightapalooza. So we're putting 3 shows under one roof. It'll be one badge for all 3 shows, so you can explore all the different solutions. We really felt it was important to maintain the authenticity of what Lightapalooza is because we clearly acquired that for a reason. And also recognize that the opportunity could be far bigger than focusing on residential lighting solutions. So that's where Reside comes in. That Reside will have home automation solutions, consumer electronics, in a much broader show floor than Lightapalooza.
Okay. I did want to start this with a different question, but my first question I wanted to ask is, what kind of dog do you have? You're a dog person, as I heard. And so what's your dog? Who's your dog?
I am a dog person. I have 3 dogs, actually, 3 big dogs that are at doggy daycare right now because if a squirrel came by or we have a lot of fox here that love to torment the dogs, we would be rudely interrupted. So my oldest is a boxer lab mix, a boxador, they call them. Wow. He's a rescue from the ASPCA, but he's 50-50 lab and boxer. And then I have 2 full labs that are just precious little sisters to him. But he's the leader of the pack.
3?
Wow. That's a lot of energy in one house.
I actually think that's a lot of poop in the backyard is really what it comes down to.
Of course, labs, just full of love, right? I mean, they are the definition of loving, loyal dogs. That's amazing. Well, I appreciate you putting them in doggy daycare. I'm sure they're having a ball. Where is home, Jenn? You have foxes, you have this wildlife. Where's that?
I am in southern New Jersey, in North Cape May, New Jersey. So close to the beach, but also in a little more rural area. So yes, we have a ton of wildlife, coyotes, fox, wild turkeys, turtles. I mean, every day is an adventure, especially with 3 dogs who discover things. So I never know what I'm going to get.
Did you grow up as a Jersey girl?
I live in my hometown. I moved back home, so very close to my parents and my brother and his family.
We are on the exact opposite ends of the Jersey Shore. You're all the way at the southern tip, and I'm all the way at the northern end of Atlantic Highlands. So, like, I can see the city, New York. You're closer to Philly. You can get on the ferry to Delaware. I love the Jersey Shore. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful place. God's country, as I like to say.
So you grew up in Jersey. You have a fairly long history of events and trade shows and whatnot. So talk us through kind of high level how you got into that, what interested you, and what keeps that spark going.
Yeah, I actually fell into events in my hometown here in Cape May and worked for a nonprofit that ran the Cape May Food and Wine Festival and the Music Festival. So that was my first foray into events, and I just loved how events bring people together and the vibrancy of it. And I knew after doing that I wanted to make a career of it. So I ended up, after a couple of years after college, moving to DC and started my career at a show management company running Homeland Security events not long after 9/11. So that was an important community to serve and bring together. And then I spent 15 years at a media company running the largest satellite technology trade show, among others. And that was a really fascinating journey for me. When I started with the satellite show, it was kind of campy military communications show. And then we navigated that industry through the Battle of the Billionaires and having more accessible space as new entrants and private space explorers came onto the landscape. Recently, before joining AVIXA, I spent 3 years at a show management company that produced events on behalf of association and corporate clients. National Retail Federation show was one of the events that we worked on, another large tile and stone event. So I've worked on a lot of different communities and markets, always have loved trade shows and believe in live events as a really important marketing medium and connection point for communities. And I have quickly fallen in love with the AV community since joining AVIXA in December of 2024.
What drew you to AV and the InfoComm show?
I was first contacted by a recruiter, but what drew me in was two things. One, I really appreciated AVIXA's leadership and their approach to the events and how the events are built to serve the larger community. That community piece is so important. And if that's not your guiding light in doing an event, then you will fail fast. And obviously, InfoComm's been around for a long time, as has our global portfolio of events, but it was so heartwarming and very clear that that was the priority. So that was really important to me. The other thing is, in the trade show industry, InfoComm has a phenomenal reputation. I had never been, but it's known as being one of those shows that really is, tries new things, that is innovative year in and year out. So having the opportunity to actually be a part of that and build it is something that doesn't come along often. So it was an opportunity I really had to lean into.
So when you joined, given that you joined at the end of 24, that Lightapalooza acquisition either was already in process or was about to happen and maybe you led it. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
It actually surprisingly was not in process whatsoever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was first connected with HTSA and Tom Doherty in November of 2025. So from the time we met to the time the deal closed was not even 6 months or
Wow.
6 months. So we moved very quickly and had the support of, each organization's respective boards, and it just kind of made sense. So I had been with AVIXA for about 10 months. I had the opportunity to go to a lot of shows, visit with a lot of customers. And, ISE was my first show when I started. So how can you not, really see an amazing opportunity there? And so when Tom and I were first connected, it was actually through a shared exhibitor with Lightapalooza and InfoComm. And they just said, I think you two should talk and see if there's any opportunity. And we sat down and right away recognized that there was something bigger that could happen in the residential space and that we could work together on. And a week after Tom and I first met, we were in a room with Jim Pierce, the CEO of ProSource, and John Robbins, the executive director of HTSA. And we were sitting down and talking about what this could be. And right after that meeting, I brought it to our CEO at AVIXA, Dave Labuscus, and he was very supportive of the concept. And then a week later, I was presenting it to AVIXA's board as just a very high level, this is what could happen. And at that point, all I asked for was their blessing to pursue the relationship. And it took off from there. So from day one, it was about the bigger residential opportunity. Lightapalooza is a phenomenal event, but acquiring that to be a platform for something bigger was really always the vision.
So did you go into that meeting with that acquisition on your mind?
Yes. I mean, this isn't the first show that I've acquire. I went into it with an open mind, right? So it could have been an acquisition, it could have been a partnership, it could have just been nice to meet you, shake hands. This doesn't make any sense. But I will say what's been really energizing and how you get deals done fast and right is when there is that alignment and that shared vision for what the future could hold. So that was there from day one, right? That like we can build something bigger together and leverage our respective strengths. So obviously AVIXA brings the InfoComm platform to the table, our operational excellence, our marketing expertise, and I'm probably a little biased, but one of the best educational programs there is for the AV community. And then HTSA and ProSource, our partners on Reside, bring that community piece and the knowledge, right? I know what I know, right? Which is the pro AV community and how to serve that. And I needed to find the right partner to help me serve the residential community from a training perspective. And here's what's missing, and here's what they prioritize in their day-to-day and what they need to learn about.
I think that's really interesting. Before we move on, I want to make sure we touch on the training piece. So, Jen, something you highlighted was InfoComm's training and how AVIXA really has set a high bar. What about what AVIXA's done over the years has been so successful from a training piece?
Yeah, I think one, we really lean into our instructors and recruiting the very best instructors. We have a full live content and training team that is always honing and making sure that if there's any standard change or new thing that needs to be brought to the training, we keep it fresh. We don't just set it and forget it from a training perspective. And I think that's really important to continue to evolve. And that's a beautiful thing about working at AVIXA is that as a staff member, we are empowered to mold and improve the products that we work on, right? And that's what makes day in and day out your work fulfilling, right? Is if you can say, oh, hey, I think we could do this a little better. This should be a little different, and be able to put something in place to make that happen. And then see the end result and the improvement. That's really fulfilling. And I did get the opportunity to go to Lightapalooza before the acquisition closed, and I was so impressed with the education. I mean, of course, I had seen the program on paper and looked at the website and saw what they had been offering, but actually being in the room and hearing the education take place and seeing the interaction and seeing a packed room for the opening session, that really solidified things for me as well, because I could tell that there was a clear alignment on the educational piece and the quality that was offered.
What pieces do you feel like you're taking from AVIXA's history into the residential side on the training?
Well, we intend to build educational programs for InfoComm, Reside, and Lightapalooza. That's an important part of this value proposition. We've actually brought on some new staff members to spearhead the educational components of Reside and Lightapalooza. And we'll still be working with HTSA to guide us on that Lightapalooza content piece as well. In addition, we're in the process of building right now some education committees to help us build the content. Again, I think AVIXA is really good at listening to the community and letting our community drive us forward. So I've had some people reach out to me and say, hey, Jen, how can I help? That's a great way, either reaching out to me on LinkedIn or through our website. We have a form if you want to get involved. It's resideshow.com. Getting involved on the ground level with the education, I think, could be a really fulfilling volunteer role for a lot of people. We'll continue with some of the lighting training that Lightapalooza has as well. I think seeing the hands-on, control system training and other things, that's important for us. We want to continue with that mission.
I love it.
So when getting back to the transaction, just a couple other questions. Two things kind of pop out at me. One is ISE, which is this trade show in Europe for those who haven't been, which is similar to InfoComm in that it's mostly AV, but it's focused on the European market, huge show. They have a very successful residential space. There's 6 halls. One of the halls is all residential. And I know you work mostly in North America. How much did the success of that show related to the residential market inform your decision to buy Lightapalooza?
ISE certainly is an inspiration in that regard and many others. My first trade show in the AV industry was ISE. I was so energized from that event and so proud to have that show be a sister show to InfoComm, and I hope they feel the same way about InfoComm with ISE. But yeah, I think it's great to see it work, right? It's great to see that it can work. It's great to see how commercial integrators wander into that residential hall and explore solutions, and vice versa, right? There's something to be learned from both sides, and seeing it come together under one roof was definitely an inspiration for this.
That's great, because I think to me, it's like I've been at ISE now just 4 years, and it is a tremendous show. And I think that commercial and residential, they feed off each other incredibly well. So I could see that being a big part of why you'd want to get into it. I think one of the other interesting parts in why you may look at residential as an opportunity is CEDIA Expo is not really what it used to be. And I think a lot of people feel that. I know, you may not want to comment too deeply on your competition here now that it's competition. CEDIA Expo is now being acquired too. It's being made private through its parent company, Emerald, being bought by Apollo. I don't know what you can speak to this, but the way that CEDIA Expo has gone over the past a dozen years, run by Emerald, did that inform your opportunity? Did you see that Lightapalooza came in a place where there was a lot of education demanded, took off, some went to Lightapalooza instead of CEDIA Expo? Did that piece of what's going on at CEDIA Expo open that opportunity more or not?
When an exhibitor makes an introduction and says, I think you should consider working together, that speaks volumes, but I think the bigger thing for me, Brent, is I said to you, what attracted me to AVIXA is that the community is our guiding light. And I am really proud to carry that forward with my team. And my commitment is that will continue to be our guiding light. So I think as long as we stay really connected to the community and let them guide us on what this show should be, how we should build it together, and how we create value for the custom integration and residential integrator community, that's what's most important to me. And that will be our mission that we will focus on.
I appreciate your non-answer, and I know you get why you had to do it, but I'm going to say it my own way. And I think it's like CEDIA Expo, what you just said is exactly what has been the problem with CEDIA Expo, is it's lost connection to the integrator under the leadership of Emerald. Remember, CEDIA, the trade organization, does not run CEDIA Expo. That lack of connection with Emerald is one of the reasons why there's fewer exhibitors. It's not as large a show as it used to be. It's probably half the size when I first went in 99. And the success of Lightapalooza, in contrast to what was happening at CEDIA Expo, was extraordinary. I mean, everyone that I talked to after we heard the announcement of AVIXA buying Lightapalooza was like, oh, what the hell is Expo going to do? Because it was going to be, our view is going to be incredible success in how Lightapalooza delivers and how AVIXA delivers with InfoComm. So I understand maybe you might be able to comment on that, but that's my view. Matt, I think you got a view on this too. I don't think we should necessarily worry about pulling a punch on Expo.
Well, I think we have, we're supporters of Expo, right?
Of course.
We're there.
I think you'd be a lot better though.
We have events there. I think we're all in agreement that the numbers are down, but we're there for the community as vital. And of course, Brent has his opinions and I have mine, and that's okay. But I think we're going to continue to show up wherever our community shows up, and that's important to us. What I love, what I'm hearing from Jenn, and I've experienced myself, I've been to InfoComm, I've been to ISE, I've been to a lot of these shows, is there is a different energy about an organization who lives to the value that they state, which is community building and being all about the community. So that, we're not here to diagnose what's gone right or what's gone wrong, but if the stated goal here is to make the community the guiding light, and by the way, that show is incredibly successful, then maybe there's something there that's working. That's kind of what I'm seeing. And I feel that was the case for Lightapalooza. That
it was incredibly connected.
That we are going to bring this community together on this specific topic, and do an amazing job with education. And they did it.
Now,
I think we've got the right foundation in place to get there. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share our vision and how we're going to get there today. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. I have a personal curiosity, and I'm guessing some of our listeners do too. Like, what makes a great trade show? You talk about being there for the community, and of course, like maybe not all the behind the scenes, but like this seems like a very ethereal topic, right? Like, how do you create this community? How do you build an amazing trade show? And I think our audience is very mechanical and tactical. This is not that. So I think it'd be very interesting for you to share with us.
Yeah, well, there's certainly a tactical piece to building a trade show. There's a lot of details. One of the best analogies I heard early on in my career that especially the CI market will relate to is if you can run a trade show well, you can run a small business because all of the elements are the same, right? So when I look at the show, we're looking from a marketing perspective, getting the right people in the building, from a sales perspective, making sure that the manufacturers have a diversity of product and that, we're covering the entire ecosystem on the show floor. And then from a education and content perspective, that we're again providing that right level of education to help the attendees grow their business, grow their career, advance in their personal goals in some ways. There's so many different elements of that. And then there's the operational piece, right? Making sure that we build an event that's designed, that's easy to navigate, that doesn't put up a lot of friction points, right? Like nobody wants to come and wait in line for 45 minutes to get their badge. So there's a lot of detail behind that, making sure that that experience piece is positive. It's funny, when I first started with InfoComm, I took the last 5 years show surveys and of course into an LLM and said, tell me what I need to do better. And it was little things, right? Provide more seating and the food could be better in the convention center. If you see a show with those kind of complaints, that means the core product's really good. We did take those things and we did add more seating and we did try to create better experiences. Each year, you get to improve the product when you run a trade show. And I love that, like that iterative evolution and trying new things and making it better. The other thing is AVIXA really empowers us to make new investments into the show, right? So it's not just about monetizing every cent that we spend. We actually can do things for the good of the community, which is so fulfilling, right? To have that opportunity. I think from a community perspective, the way that we provide that is not only through the education, but I like to think about manufacturing serendipity, right? So I think the beautiful thing about live events is that moment when you just run into somebody that you haven't seen in a couple of years, or that moment where you are walking the show floor and you've had this problem that you cannot solve and you see the solution, right? You find that solution. We provide opportunity to make that a little easier. And we do that through meetups. There's half a dozen Reddit threads on all the different meetups at InfoComm that are just planned by individuals. And we actually post them to our website. We pull them off of Reddit and promote it so that more people can take part. One of my favorite ones this year was a touch grass meetup. So like just get outside of the convention center for a few minutes on Friday and breathe some fresh air and meet some new people. But of course we do structured ones as well. But I think just encouraging that kind of ownership from those who attend and want to get together is a big part of what makes InfoComm special.
I think for those who've been there, they've experienced it, and it's interesting behind the scenes on how do you build that trade show. When you talked about running a small business, the piece I recognize whenever I'm asked for feedback around any of these events, we're involved in all of them, and we get asked for feedback. The thing that always hits me so hard as a business owner is once a year, you get data points once a year. And so it's like, it reminded me when my oldest daughter was a cheerleader, like cheerleaders prepare for a competition and they get one shot, but they do that like 12 times a year or whatever, right? So at least they get, but I mean, imagine a cheer competition one time a year. How do you make it great without taking decades to do that? That's got to be a challenge.
Well, I think, one of the things we really like to hone in on is just a handful of priorities every year. So for 2026, we really focused on upgrading our keynote program and the production level there. And then we introduced our on-site activations, which were actually full space integrations where our manufacturers and integrator partners came together to build out a solution area on the show floor. So we had a retail experience, we had a workplace, we had AVIXA TV, a fully functioning TV studio and post-production suite. And then we had an area called the pitch, which was really fun for this year since World Cup was taking place the same time as InfoComm, and we highlighted fan experience. And those opportunities to showcase AV in action were really a cool upgrade for us and something that we plan to continue and actually have space on the Reside show floor to showcase a residential solution as well. But circling back to your question, I think focusing in on just, you can't boil the ocean in one year, but you can identify a few key things that are really going to make a difference. And it's just like getting ready for a cheer competition or running a small business. You break down this really big thing into a lot of small things and just celebrate the wins along the way. My team and I work on InfoComm year round, right? So right now, we're reading through all the surveys and looking at all the data and finding the nuggets in there. In 2 weeks, we're all meeting in person to debrief, but mostly spend time mapping out what we need to do to make 27 a success. So you get used to the cadence, but I have to tell you, there is such a thing as post-show depression. Like afterwards, you're just like, oh, I gave it my all. And now I have to get back to day-to-day life, and I really just want to do it all over again, or at least a good show you want to do all over again.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's like you get the benefit of time to prepare, but you only get one shot a year for testing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
cool.
Jenn, I know you're going to have co-located InfoComm, Reside, and Lightapalooza. What is the difference going to be the difference between Reside and Lightapalooza? Like, why are they not one thing?
Well, really, it's the solution areas on the show floor. And also because we didn't acquire Lightapalooza to have it lose its authenticity, right? That was really important to us. Matt, you mentioned that, what HTSA built in 4 years with Lightapalooza is something really special. And so it really is about, for me, empowering the audience to kind of choose their own adventure. If they want to come to just Lightapalooza, take in the education and focus in on the solutions on that show floor, we've got it laid out that they can do that. Now, if they want to explore Reside and InfoComm as well, they're welcome to do that too. There's no walls in between the halls. There's, no friction point with badges or access. They can see whatever they'd like to see.
Reside is basically everything residential other than lighting. Is that the way to think of it?
Yeah, all the other solutions. And the way we have it laid out is the first halls are InfoComm, then it's Reside, then Lightapalooza. And I think Reside is a nice bridge, right, in between Lightapalooza and InfoComm. And so, yes, Reside will have the home automation solutions, consumer electronics, home theater, all of the other categories in the residential space.
I know you're doing Reside as a partnership also between you guys, ProSource, and HTSA. What is the role that ProSource and HTSA will have in these shows going forward?
They really are the community drivers for the event. And while they are our founding partners with the event, I do want to make the point that this is open to the entire community. So, we will welcome other buying groups and other organizations to the show as well, just as we do on InfoComm. We partner with so many groups at InfoComm. As I mentioned earlier, I think it's really important want to know what you're good at and know what you need help in. And where I felt like we needed help for Reside was really understanding that CI community and making sure that we built an event with them in mind. So we'll be tapping into the membership of HTSA and ProSource to help guide us as we build this event.
How has the pickup been by the exhibitors? Have you gotten a lot of interesting sign up from vendors?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of early interest, which has been wonderful. We honestly went into InfoComm just kind of taking an interest list for Reside. I think one of the things we really want to make sure we do is we curate the show floor well so that we have diversity of products and different categories. I talked about that kind of as part of what makes a good event, right? I love all of our exhibitors, but if I had just one category of solution on the show floor, it wouldn't be very interesting to visit. So we want to make sure that we're mindful about that, especially because we have some space limitations, honestly. We're putting Reside and Lightapalooza in some space that we hadn't used in the past in Orlando, but we don't have unlimited space. So we have to be mindful about that.
How big is it? How much space do you have for the two?
For Reside, we have about 45,000 net square feet. I guess, about like 15% of what InfoComm is. And the Lightapalooza is about half of what we have for Reside. So we have a little more space for Lightapalooza than they had this year. And then, like I said, 45,000. It's enough to showcase what we want to from an ecosystem perspective and solution area perspective.
And, there's a few brands I think of that would also be exhibitors in InfoComm. Are you seeing people have interest in having two booths, or are InfoComm exhibitors sticking with InfoComm?
I would say it's 50-50 right now. And it really depends on a manufacturer's company structure, what their priorities are. Some companies have said, I'm just going to get a little bigger booth at InfoComm and put the residential products right alongside of our commercial ones and showcase all that we can do in one booth. And then there's other companies that have said, this is a different team that's selling these products, completely different division, different marketing focus, and we want to have two distinct places to showcase our solutions. So we're partnering with them both ways. And it's really just about sitting down and understanding what a company's priority is. I will say we also had a small number of companies that were exhibiting at InfoComm, but probably 70% of their business is residential and 30% is commercial, and they were coming to us for that 30%. And now they've said, it would make more sense if we went on the Reside show floor. And of course, we're supporting that too.
That makes a lot of sense as you describe it, especially I think there's some lighting vendors, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I imagine there are lighting vendors where, there's a clear distinction between selling commercial lighting, especially commercial lighting control, and residential. Like, they're vastly different. Where the audio stuff can play together, the video stuff can kind of play together. I think the lighting is truly differentiated.
Yes. Yeah. So we're having those conversations and just, being a good partner in whatever way they need us to be. So
I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think I'm excited to attend in Orlando next year. It's gonna be, for my perspective, where InfoComm was never really a focus of attendance because I'm mostly on the residential side. There's no offense to InfoComm, it just wasn't my thing. But now that it's going to have that piece, what's also going to provide me is a lot more exposure to what the domestic commercial side is, because I will travel over as I should, right? So I think what's going to be interesting to me is for the U.S. integrator, either commercial or residential, by attending this combined show, over the next several years, will we see more crossover in the business, right? There's an opportunity that because of this exposure that some of our more residential get into a little more light commercial. There may be some smaller commercial vendors, integrators that want to do residential. I think it may have that kind of impact. Matt, do you have any thoughts on that, or Jen?
I think it's very likely. And it's funny you talk about your personal desire to go to InfoComm. One of my favorite things about InfoComm is that I don't have to go to Orlando to every other year I can just go to Vegas. because it's, for whatever reason, I just have this aversion to going to Orlando. But I'm actually excited next year to go to Orlando. Like that is a draw for me next year to go to just to see the inaugural setup. So yeah, kudos to you for being able to pull me out of my West Coast comfort zone and to get over to Orlando. Because otherwise, yeah, it's every other year in Vegas for me.
And I'm excited that you'll be at the inaugural Reside and be able to see Lightapalooza and InfoComm under one roof. And Matt, when we were talking about the potential crossover and what could happen between residential and commercial integrators learning from one another and expanding their businesses, I mean, that certainly is an outcome that we are focused on enabling, and definitely see this as an opportunity to encourage that.
Yeah. I mean, not only do I expect to attend Orlando, but my hope is that we'll be able to be there as an education partner, as we have been for so many years on the residential side.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we'll be talking about that stuff soon.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think this has been a great conversation. It's been good to learn about what's going on with Reside, the new launch, how it came about. It's fascinating that this acquisition actually happened. I think nobody expected AVIXA to buy Lightapalooza. And there was a lot of chatter about Lightapalooza for a couple of years. So kudos to you to getting that done so quickly.
Thank you. We keep saying, we've talked for the last 40 minutes about the opportunities and how much this just makes sense. And that's really why it happened, right? It was easy to understand. I think we all see the opportunity here, and my team and I are ready to roll up our sleeves and execute on that. And what an honor it'll be to execute on that. So
I'm curious, Jen, to the degree that you're willing to share your vision, like beyond what we've already covered, what's exciting for you in the next year or two? Share with us what's lighting you up.
oh gosh, this whole new market has been really awesome. And that's certainly excited me. Beyond that, what's been great is I'm building my team, expanding my team out. AVIXA has been very supportive about me hiring new people to help run Reside. I'm appreciative of that support. And it's nice when you bring in fresh perspectives, right? And new markets to learn from and expand. So that's one thing. I hate to lean on AI, but seeing how fast technology is changing and how fast AI is moving, I think about even my first InfoComm, right? The AI conversations were much more about, is this going to impact jobs? And it was kind of negative perspective. This year, all of the AI talk was, here's how this is going to make the workplace more efficient. Here's how we're going to build a space that is completely personalized and customized for the people in the room because of not only the AI technology, but more importantly, the AV technology in the room, right? We're going to leverage it for so much more than we ever have before. Honestly, when you think about InfoComm, it's all about AV in different spaces. So extending it to the home, again, just is such a natural progression for us. That's exciting to me.
One last question I have is AVIXA as a trade organization and trade representative really has focused on commercial. Will the acquisition of Lightapalooza change that and expand its mandate into more of a residential integrator support?
We talked earlier about CEDIA.org and that they are the community leader for the custom integration and residential channel, and we don't intend to enter into that space. Now, from a show perspective, obviously we are, right? And we're welcoming the entire community, but I think from an association perspective, that's already very well served, clearly, right? So there's no need for us to do that.
Thank you, Jen. It was great to dig into some history. I learned about Cape May diamonds that I thought were actual diamonds. Clearly, now I won't get robbed when I buy a Cape May diamond. I'll know that it's quartz. And then got to better understand trade show stuff. I'm a really curious person, so I'm sure I'll ask you a lot more questions offline. But yeah, it's just very interesting to me, the whole trade show thing and how well it's being done right now by certain organizations. So thanks for the time.
And Jen, anything you'd like to finish with?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we can do this again closer to the show and give you updates along the way. Really appreciate the opportunity, and this has been fun.
Well, Jenn, I really appreciate you being here. It's been a fantastic conversation about one of the hot buzz points in our industry. So congratulations on being the center of the conversation. So Jenn, I appreciate your time. You've been a great guest. And as always, this is another episode of the Flywheel Effect. If you'd enjoyed this episode, please give us a like, a share, a follow. Give us that 5-star review if you can. And if you know somebody that would like and enjoy this podcast, please share it with them as well. So until next time, this is the Flywheel Effect. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Flywheel Effect. Our journey through the intricate world of luxury home services continues to be fueled by your passion for excellence and innovation. If you found value in our conversations today, don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. More insights and resources, visit us online at growwithvital.com. Until next time.